Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, it's Sunday night. Sorry for the little bit of a delay. I was making myself a cup of tea before we started. Anyway, hello, it is Sunday night and it's time to talk some more nonsense around the FPV and drone world because we can. Now, I hope everyone is safe and well wherever you are in the world. I've actually flown a very little amount today. Not as much as I would have liked, but I was actually testing the HDZero 90 frames a second mode today. Again, I've been doing a bit more testing on that, and there is a reason actually I haven't had a video on it yet, because it's been really hard to get enough testing that I'm comfortable to give an opinion on it. And whilst I've been able to get out and do things like this, the new avatar launch, that has always been very straightforward because I can sort of do a fly, a test, a fly, a test. Whereas the new 90 frames a second mode, I wanted a lot more stick time on to be able to ensure that the opinion I give is valid and correct. And look, I am not the best person to talk about the core market for that product as well, which is racing. And there's nothing bad with it. Where I'm really trying to understand is where the benefit is for the normal user, if there is one. And that's where it is. So I'm hoping to get that finished in the next week. And it also gave me a chance to get some more time on the HDZero goggles since I repaired them as well, which has been fantastic. I can feel it, but I'm just not sure it's a benefit is what I would say. I'm also in the current light and the, you know, look, I've been smashing it around the field on a 3.5 inch, and I'll be honest, I need more stick time to just get my own skills back up because it's been a long winter and I've not flown a lot, and as a result of not flying a lot, I am rusty as hell. I've never been the best FPV pilot in the world, but like anything, if you do 5 packs a day on a 3.5 inch and stay on that same quad, you will get used to it. And I think the biggest problem I often face is I'm jumping between too many different aircraft all of the time. You can fly them all, but what you can't get is, it's like anything, isn't it? You can't tune into that aircraft if you're not flying it all of the time. And that's the problem. So what I've been trying to do is build up a lot of stick time on it. But yeah, overall, there's nothing bad to say about it, but it is quite interesting. So anyway, good evening. Hello, how are you? DKFPV, I've just seen a question. I'll say very quickly, no, it doesn't. Anyway, hello, I hope everyone is safe and well. Now, I'm not going to get through everyone in the chat, but it is brilliant to have you all here. We do have biscuits, but I have coffee tonight. So the biscuits I have tonight are digestives, and I have a coffee tonight. Why not 10:30? Well, I've gone back now to the traditional time of 10. Now we've moved forward into BST in the UK. AV Physics, I have to say, after spending loads of time practicing freestyle on a 2-inch, going back to a 3.5 inch feels like having superpowers. Yeah, and this is the problem, jumping between. And GMI has said they jump in between Walksnail, HDZero, and DJI is great for feeling latency differences, for sure. What I've been trying to do, though, is stick to something very specific, that the difference between 540p, say 960p 60 and 540p 90. And what I will say is this: I am overall actually impressed with the video quality in 540p. The drop is minimal. It isn't as bad as you would expect. What you do is lose detail, but what it doesn't feel like is it loses detail. It feels like everything's just a bit more blurry. And what I mean by that is I know losing detail means more blur. What you don't get, though, is like this feeling of blockiness, if you know what I mean. It doesn't feel like the pixels are larger. What you're getting is a level of less sharpness, but it isn't dramatic, and it really isn't like, oh my god. And that's what I was. And I was doing a bit of proximity stuff around some goalposts and stuff, and that's what I was just practicing. But I need to get my own technical ability behind the sticks back up, because I'll be honest, I am horrific at the moment. I noticed it when I was testing the avatar system. I really struggled, especially in the cold weather as well. But it wasn't just that. None of my quads fly the same. It's something I have really got to do, is spend time tuning them all to behave pretty much the same. So when I'm hopping between them, I'm not fighting things. Something you guys didn't see, you might have seen a little bit in the avatar video. When I flew it that night, that was actually the first time I'd flown that build. So I actually did the dusk footage before the day footage, because I'd done the build, fitted the new build, and I took it out, and it was all over the place. That was the Chris Rosser build, and it is because I had it standard, not tuned to my own liking. But I don't recall it feeling like that the last time I flew it. And I think what it is, I've been flying other builds that are tuned very differently, and when I came back to it, I was like, oh my god, this is all over the place. And it just took me a bit of getting used to. It wasn't as sharp as I remember it being. It was quite dull, but I don't know if I'd messed with it. So something I do need to do is get them all tuned the same, especially when you jump in between them. But yeah, in that field, there's a few times where it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. There was too much expo on the sticks here, so I wasn't in sync between the yaw and the roll and other things like that. And it was like, oh, I'm not feeling this. And look, as I said, I'm not the greatest pilot in the world, but when I get it like I like it, I'm happy. And I tell you what I do like. This 3.5-inch quad, this is the Emax, and this originally came with HDZero, and I upgraded this to the new Nano 90, and I tell you what, this is a phenomenal little aircraft for smashing around in a field. It really is. Just to put it under the overhead for those who haven't seen it. This is the Apex. It is a phenomenal little bit of kit. It really, really is. I love this quad. If I had to only own one quad, I was only allowed to own one, honestly, I would be seriously tempted that it was this. What do you think of it, GMI? You won it from Geeks Varna. Congrats. I like it. It's a great little bit of kit. It's a great little flyer. It just is a great little sort of field flyer, smasher. You can throw it around. It is quick if you want it to be. It just flies really nice. 8 out of 10. Yeah, I think it's a great quad. Aviophysics, I agree with that. If you're pixel peeping at hard edges, the increased aliasing is noticeable, but it's still good when flying on the FPS is fantastic. That's on the HDZero 90. Yeah, agreed. It certainly isn't. It doesn't go Minecraft. So going from 960 or 720 down to 540 isn't like going Minecraft. What you get is a loss of overall sharpness, detail, but not in such a way that you think you've dropped resolution. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird the way it manifests. But yeah, I love this. Is what I've got the Nano 90 in, and I got 4 packs through it today, and I was just pushing it around the field. Just again, I haven't flown this for such a long time. So I wanted to get it up and running. But I you know what? I think, I genuinely, I think it's a fantastic quad. It just is. It just is. Anyways, so I've been testing that, and I was just doing some stuff around goalposts in a field and just, again, getting the stick feel back up where I want it to be. But yeah, there's a reason I haven't done the video yet, because I want to, and look, it's not really fair on Carl that I haven't, because I wanted to get that video out, but also in some ways there is a secondary reason I haven't put the video out and rushed to do it, and that is because the supply of goggles is still quite constrained. There's another batch coming soon. 1080p30, as AV Physics has just said, around the corner is coming. And look, I'm being a bit more cautious now on talking about products that are hard to get. There's been a lot of criticism against Radiomaster recently with the likes of the Boxer and others. And look, it's easy for those of us who are lucky who get sent stuff early and, yeah, this is fantastic, you go get this, and then you're all sitting there waiting and you can't do it. And so I am, when the go, you know, look, I will have a video on that camera. I've really got nothing negative to say. I suppose the question is, do I really see a reason to recommend it as not a racer? And that's where I want to be clear. And that's where I'm trying to head to with it. But anyway. So, that wasn't meant to be the start of the live stream, but it was. Anyways, before we get into it, I just want to talk a little bit about a few things. Now, I'm going to do this straight a minute. If there is anyone watching who has in the UK or has access to this, and let me bring this up. This is the DJI transmission system. Let me move myself into shot. If there is anyone in the UK with this who would be willing to loan me this, please can you reach out? I am looking to get my hands on a DJI transmission system to make some content and do some testing on. I'm not talking taking it apart, don't worry. I'm looking to... It is very much in the wheelhouse. What the bloody hell is Sean doing with one of these? I never even thought Sean would have one of these. This is very much in the wheelhouse of what I cover on the channel, which is OcuSync. I used to cover... I can't take someone else's apart. That's not fair. But what I'm really interested in is having a look at this thing from an RF point of view, but also try and put some proper info out there because, yes, I forgot about that. But there's a lot of lack of info on it, and it does sort of fall into our wheelhouse. So I am looking at it. Now, I was tempted to order one, but it's $2,000. There is a used one on eBay for 1,300 quid, but I don't know if it's stolen or hacked or borrowed and not brought back. But yeah. So anyway, I've already had people reach out. So Sean, we need to have a chat. But yeah, it's in a product stack that I do cover on my channel usually. I used to cover all of the Ronin stuff. I'd love to cover the Ronin stuff again. I just can't afford to. But I would love to cover the Ronin stuff again. But this definitely falls into the digital side. And because it's 03, it's very cool. Now, before I move on from that, so if there is anyone who hasn't already reached out, please do reach out to me. There is a super chat that's just come in. I just want to say hello. Isaac Mitchell, how are you? Thank you, my friend. Do I want the new firmware on my Vista in-ear unit? I fly V2 goggles, any gain in performance, worth for professional use, don't fix what's not broken. Okay, so Isaac, first of all, you can't use the latest version anyway, because that is not for your system. The latest version was only for the goggles 2 and not the V2s. I don't know what version you're on, so it's hard for me to say that they're on improvements, but there is nothing dramatic out there that you're going to see benefits from. My advice would be to stay still. I don't know what version you're on, but if you won't be on the latest, because you can't be, because that only works with goggles 2. But if you're on 06, 07 or 06, 06, don't worry about it. It's fine. There's no great reason to update. It's as simple as that. So, that's that one. Max to 608, 607, 606, 607, 608. 608 was final little release for that new camera. It's a funny release, that one. But yeah, 06, 06, 06, 07, 06, 08. Don't go any further than that, but there's no benefits in them anyway. 06, 06 is the best place to be. Genuinely. So that's it on that one. So thank you for the super chat, my friend. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so let's talk about the big first subject, and that is DJI are looking to release some new goggles as well as a new hand controller. Okay, right. I'll be careful what I say there. However, anyway, look, there's been a load of leaks this week, and I just want to share with you my thoughts on these leaks. So obviously, the last release we had from DJI was 03, and before that was the Avata with the goggles too. Now, there's been loads of leaks this week, loads and loads of them. I'm going to show you Jasper Ellen's page. I can't remember who was first. I'm choosing Jasper's because I know he always covers this. Many great websites, including Sean, has covered this as well. So, there's going to be a new set of goggles called Integra. Now, they look a lot like the goggles too, but there are differences. You can see there's this pad on the back and there's a big knob on the back of that. We'll take a look at it in a minute. You can also note that the focus adjustment is gone and we only now have IPD. That is all that is there. There is a new version of the RC Motion. This is the original one, which has a new trigger, so it looks like it's got a place to put your finger in, so maybe forward and reverse, or at least that will become your emergency brake. So rather than rely on that trigger coming back, your pushing back of that will then brake. And they've then moved, the button is gone on the top, and then there's now a joystick on top. There also shows images of the back, and you can see you've got this box on the back with this knob, which turns, which adjusts the strap, the belief is. And what I can also say is, I will bet that there's battery in there. There's a battery there, which is probably the same as they did on the goggles. White goggles, I think it is. The RE and the whites, they had the battery in the back. Looking at some other stuff, I think the other battery is gone and there's no cable. What I don't know, though, is how they're going to power this, whether there's a cable in this or that one there. Might be a flat cable that runs between it, or they'll include a cable in the box which you have to plug in. However, what I will say is I don't believe for 1 minute that this is just a pad and a strap adjustment. I will bet money that this has the battery in as well. That's where I will put my bets. And that's that bit of it. We've then got some more images. Again, all from Jasper Ellens is what I'm showing, but I don't know where the original source of these was, so I do want to be careful about that. We've got what appears to be a new pack for the Avata, which sort of makes sense. So you got an Avata, and what you can see in this is you got the Avata, this side for the aircraft. So battery charger looks to have changed. The Avata battery, that's not the same unit we had before. Or it doesn't look to be the same unit. It could be. And then this side, we've got the new stuff. And what you're seeing here is the goggles. Note there's no battery showing for the goggles at all. There's nothing there. There's a second face. Oh, no, the face mask, because that's not fitted at that moment in time. So you can see the face mask is separate. And then there's lens adjustments. So now it looks like they've lost the manual focus control and they're giving you replacement lenses instead that you will use rather than having to use the focus adjustment on the bottom. There's another image there, and what we do know from the images is the touchpad is gone. Okay, the touchpad is vanished. No more. Shall be no more. There is a joystick on the top. Let me just go through, and we can see these on some of the other images that have been shared. Let me just find them. It does look to be the case that I think it was on... Is it on this image? You can see there in the corner there that there's a joystick. So like the V2s and the V1s, no more separate battery. There is a new molding because the originals don't have this peak with the holing at the top. Well, these, I don't think mine do. 1 second. No, we've got the peak, but we don't have the hole. It looks like they've extended that up as well. And there's a top strap option available too. This all looks a bit deeper as well. So I do wonder what else they have changed with the optics. Now, we don't know the spec on these. And as I said, there's all sorts, and that's the joystick there for the use of it. Now, we don't know what else has changed. There's been a lot of rumors. There's been a lot of hints. There's been a lot of, oh, they're going to do this or that. Genuinely, we don't know. We don't know if these are OLEDs or LCDs. We know the touchpad is gone. Okay, that's fairly clear. The battery looks like it's gone. We believe that it's probably not going to have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth like the original ones. And there are a few other things that we believe, but I'm not going to say because I've been asked not to as well. But what this looks to be is a cheaper version of the goggle, but not just a cheaper one, a more consumer-centric goggle for the Avata. That's what it looks like. Now, there are a lot of questions. Are these going to work with O3? We don't know. My bets are these goggles are not going to be sold independently. My bet will be these will be sold with the Avata, and then the goggles too will remain for the FPV side. That's what I think will happen. I could be wrong, but that's my personal opinion. There is also, it is interesting to see what else changes around RID as well, whether there's anything else around that. But other than that, I think that's what we're getting. Now, I know there's a lot of people, the display, DKFPV said the display is gone for the channels on the side. Yes, sorry, I missed that one. So, look, I'm not convinced this is that light product, as Peppermint has asked. Look, I think this is DJI doing what DJI does all of the time. Right, DJI have a very straightforward business model. They always have. And this business model is now being done by Bamboo, who are the company making the 3D printers, who are created by some of the OGs from DJI. In fact, Dr. Turbo, for those who've been around RC groups long enough, is the man behind Bamboo Labs. The man behind the Mavic is the man behind Bamboo Labs printers. And you're seeing this same business model. So the way DJI have always done this is this. You build one product, the premium one. So that has all the features and specs. That is the higher end cost. Then that is sold, and then the income from that helps pay back the development costs, the tooling, and all of this. And then off that product, you spear off multiple lines, very similar, not identical. They do tooling changes, they change the shells a bit, but it spears off children into smaller product lines that they can then make more money on, often cheaper, often as good, without some of the features people may not have wanted, or some of the features you may want may not be there, but it has a limited capacity. And we've seen this from DJI time and time again. It started with the Inspire 1, okay? If we go back to the Inspire 1, that drone was the very first drone to have light bridge technology, DJI's wireless system. It then had that X3 camera, which was the first proper DJI in-house camera, and it had a whole host of other features. Less than sort of 6 months later, they released the Phantom 3 Pro with like 90% of the Inspire 2's features. Light bridge, the same camera, all of the other stuff. And DJI had they've always done this. You get the high model and then you get the low models. And Bamboo are doing the same now. We got the X1 and then they brought out the P1P, which is 80% of the X1 but half the price. And this is what DJI is doing here. This is what they're doing with the goggles too. And the chances are, look, I'll be honest, the chances are this is a way to cut costs. I don't know how much cost savings they can make by removing the LED displays, the touchpad, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. I don't know how much cost saving you can get. We don't even know, mind, if these goggles are OLED. They could be LCDs. So we don't know. We don't know. But we're going to have to see. But I'm not convinced these goggles are for FPV. I could be wrong. They could be fully compatible with O3. There's no technical reason they couldn't be. Put it that way. But what I think they are is a goggle to try and reduce the price of the Avata and produce a new, cheaper combo. Hell, we don't know, but that Avata may not even be the same drone as well. We got to take that into account. There may be bits on that aren't the same. I don't really know what you could take off the Avata. You can't really save much money on it. But don't underestimate, there are not ways of producing a cheaper model, smaller sensor camera. You know, if we just look at, like, I was very critical last week of the Mini 2 SE, which I think stands for Shite Edition. But again, what is it? It's a smaller sensor, less video, and you could do that with an Avata. You could have an Avata Lite. We don't know. There's been no whispers, but it could happen. But we'll see. So it's out there. It's interesting. I think. Let's just bring the desktop back up again. You know, the images I've been using today are from Jasper, but I don't know who the original source was. And these days I tend to be very careful because there's all sorts of a fighting involved with DJI leaks these days. But yeah, overall, I don't think there's anything bad here. I don't think there's anything bad here. It looks super interesting. I'm not sure about this. To me, I don't like this. I'll be honest with you. For me, I think this is horrible. It is very reminiscent of the goggles White Edition and RE. This is very like those days. DJI with the goggles White Edition and RE. For those who don't remember them, DJI FPV goggles RE. The Racing Edition. And there will be one channel that made more content on that stuff than probably anyone, and that will be me. But if we look for here, for those who don't remember these were the goggles RE. Are there any images? Let's have a look. Proper images. Here you go at the back. The strap I'm looking for. Here you go. So this band at the back had the battery in. It had an adjustment, but instead of using a strap, it used a stainless steel band in the original goggles RE. But they had the battery in the back, and they had this adjustment. It's all very reminiscent for me, the person who's been around long enough to see these things. Yeah. It's similar. It's similar. Goggles RE were a great goggle. They were a great goggle. If I click on videos, there should be a bunch of videos from me on these. Oh, mine are being delisted now. Look at that. My videos used to be the top for these. It's been a while. Ah, there it is. One of them there, look. But, yeah, great one. Yeah, it does help with balance. Definitely helped with balance on those goggles because they were big. But look, they're not going to fit in that case I've got now. So I'm happy with an external battery. But here is an interesting point. The goggles V2, the goggles V1, and the goggles 2 are not really very consumer friendly. FPV, we are all used to having this separate battery thing. That isn't very consumer nice. And I do wonder if that's why DJI haven't made them compatible with all of their other drones, because they just feel it's all a bit cumbersome with the wire down the side and stuff like that. We're used to that in FPV, not so much in their other stuff. So I can see this being a more consumer-friendly product with it all in one. That's what I think. Okay, so to catch up on the super chats before I catch up on the chat, because I just want to go back up. Sweet, Isaac, you're on 0606. Brilliant. That's fine. Thank you for the $2, mate, on top of the 10. I really appreciate that. But yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Free range chicken FPV, $9.99. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for the stream, Ian. I really appreciate it. Evening, what's up? How are you, my friend? Right, let me just scroll back up the chat. Right, okay. Let me just go back up. I just want to see where I was at. Mads Tech, there'll be a goggle. Oh, actually, that was Lon, but let me just go back up a bit further. Top strap, because I saw something. I just wanted to... Battery in the back's a smart design move. Cable in the strap. I think it'll be a flat cable in the strap. And it looks like it's on the right-hand side, Lon, because there's a buckle on the left. So I suspect there's like a very flat ribbon on the right-hand side. There's a difference when covering the leaks and just copying the work of others. You always give credit. Yeah, I always try to. Thank you for that, Lon. I always try to say where I've seen it from. Scrolling down. Is there a box where you store your weed? I just got a 3DR Solo, and it's overall pretty cool drone for the cost, about $150. Yeah, I've been looking for a Solo. I did have one for a very small period of time, but sold it. But I would like another one. Mike Bigman, how are you? I answered that one. I'm always on top of your list, Mountaineer FPV. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Anyways, where's Bruce? I don't know where Bruce is. I haven't been able to do the Tuesday stream. I've been traveling, and I won't be able to do this Tuesdays either. I'm traveling a lot more midweek now, and which means the Tuesday ones late, 10 o'clock don't usually happen. I don't believe he's died yet. So I know he's been fighting the wings thing, isn't he? I have a Solo here waiting for me to get some time to unbrick it. Yeah, and the interesting thing, look, I still find it madness with DJI that they don't make, look, I've always had this opinion. DJI would sell more goggles to Mavic users than they ever, in 1 month, than they ever will to FPV. Yet they haven't made them compatible. So why? There's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason why. They've had goggles in the past. Why would they not when it's just software? So there is something in DJI's eyes that these goggles don't fit in. They don't fit in a certain segment. So we're going to have to see. But anyway, I don't think there's anything exciting here on the FPV side with these goggles. If they are... I also don't think they're going to be that much cheaper unless they go down to LCDs. They'd have to drop to LCDs to really get the price down. Removing Wi-Fi and Bluetooth ain't going to take jack out of the cost. That you'll be lucky if that's $1 out of the chipset. Touchpad probably is quite an expensive part, probably because it's so custom, as would the LCD display. The LED display, that wouldn't be expensive because that would be an in-house manufactured part. All that is holes and LEDs. But the touchpad, I suspect, is an expensive component because that's going to have to be made for them and molded and specific. So I think there is room for it. Will there be a replacement for the larger V2 goggles? I don't know. I don't know where DJI is going to head with it, you know. But as for timescales on this, we don't know. I'm guessing it won't be long when we're seeing pictures like this. It'll be a soft launch. It won't be a hard launch. It'll be a soft launch. This one will just fall out. This is available now with this. You're not going to get much noise. It could be this week. Tends to be Tuesdays, was always DJI's days in the past. And then we may see an update for the goggles and the O3. And I do have a video I need to put out. Did I ever release that? I didn't. Did I ever finish editing that? I've got a video which I made, which is more than anything a list to DJI of the things we want them to fix on O3. And I don't think... I don't think I ever put it out. I don't think I did. I need to check that one. What do I think the long-term lifespan will be of the flat ribbon cable in the strap? It'll be fine. Look, what I will say with DJI is this. They don't get many issues like that. If I think back, you know, if you think back to the FPV goggles, the cables, you don't get cables wearing through. You just don't get it. It just doesn't. They really don't get problems. Even the cables on the side of the remotes don't wear out. When we had the Mavic remotes, you had the little cables. Not even they wore out. DJI is really good at that stuff. You didn't even see people damaging the connectors. And this is like the Mavic 2 remote where you'd push it into the controller. You would see the USB connector come off the board. That I've seen. But the cables are solid. They don't get too many problems. They just don't. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. So, okay. Next. It's time to move on to Walksnail. Now, it's been a very, very big week, and I'll be honest, I didn't know if I was going to go live tonight because I want to get Failsafe on the show. He's a great guy. He's one of the guys who runs the Walksnail Discord. He's on my Discord. I was late getting home, and I'll be honest, how I've managed to get to now without coughing my lungs up, I don't know, because I've been coughing all day. I think the coffee is helping. That's why I've been avoiding the biscuits. But anyway, we have had a very big week for the Avatar HD system. Now, unless you've been living under a rock in FPV, you'd have seen that we've got the new HD Pro kit. My 40-minute plus video went up, and I'll be honest, that video is a very big mistake. I got something very, very wrong in that video, and what I got wrong was that it was one video. That should have been 3 vids. And I'll live and learn by that one, and I didn't even think about it. Not only could have I benefited from the ad revenue a little bit, but it's just too long. It's just too long. But yeah, look, we've had basically 3 new things this week. It really has been. We've had a new VTX and 2 new cameras. Now, I just wanted to share with you some extended thoughts, really, on this. And look, I'll answer any questions if anyone's got them. And there is stuff that I talked about in the video. And look, I'm not saying the video wasn't good. I think I covered as much as I possibly could. I literally covered as much as I could do. But it's too long. It's too much and too long. And I think what I should have done was either 3 videos or 2. 1 on the VTX and 1 on the 2 cameras. Because there was so much to discuss on the VTX alone. If you look at that video, we were 20 minutes in on the VTX alone. And I have mine here. I have my pile of bench testing VTXs, and I know I am extremely... The crazy thing is, the cost in this little pile of bench testing VTXs is quite incredible, actually, and I don't forget how lucky I am to have some of these here. I always have multiples of everything now, so I have 1 VTX of every system on the bench at all times. So there's an O3, there's an Avatar V1, there's an Avatar V2, there's a Vista, and a DJI unit. And I am lucky to be in that position to be able to do that because I'm testing stuff all of the time. I need to be able to pick one up and do stuff with it. But I have to say, now, there is a video coming on this VTX tomorrow which will answer the final big question I know a lot of people have, and that is the GPS performance. Now, I will share with you amazing people watching the stream up front. It is basically fixed. Hey, Wes, how are you? I did touch on it in my review, but I hadn't had the chance in that review to do all of the testing. I have now done all of the testing, and I can say there is no GPS issue with the version 2. That is the simplest explanation I can give you. Now, the video will go out. There's lots of great info in there. I walk you through what is actually causing the issue on the V1, and then we look at it and we look at the behavior. So please do still watch it. I do need people to watch that one. But the basics are the problem has been fixed. So shielding, probably. I haven't gone into too much depth on what they've done, but it has been fixed, categorically. I can see zero effect from this VTX anymore. On latest firmware on V2, can't root butter didn't work. Butter should work on all the firmwares. Make sure you're in the right mode. We'll come on to that after. Hello, Captain Bry. How are you? But yeah, it is good. So the GPS issue is thing. There is a video I was going to do, but I think it's probably pointless now, and JB did it. JB put a really good video out, if you haven't seen it, on the penetration testing between the single and the double antenna. For those who haven't seen it, let me just find it. It was on JB's channel. I'm really annoyed at him because I wanted to make that video. So stop off, JB. Get away from VTXs. It's revenge for me doing a Betaflight video, that is. Yeah, I make one Betaflight video and JB's on my patch. No, I'm joking. But he did a real good test. He did a good test on it. Let me just find his channel, Joshua Bardwell. For those who don't know who the man is, too busy editing a 40-minute video. Yeah, that's the freaking problem. He's been banging them out this week. He really has. He's been banging them out like he was hacked. But yeah, for those who don't know, let me just find it. JB, which one is it? This one here. So this video here, and he does some great tests, and it's funny, the issue he'd seen, I'd also seen once as well, where he had it stuck at that 14 megabits. I have seen that myself. He did a great job on the data as well. Actually, what I will say is, for those who didn't see, he put some charts together off that table that shows you the bit rates and everything, and he did some great, there's some great data in there. And look, I know JB likes an Excel chart at the best of times. I'd love to go head to head with JB on Excel or Google Sheets. We'll spend some time doing some VLOOKUPs, import ranges, and maybe even some queries. But yeah, JB did some he does a really good video, and the overall conclusion of that video, for those who haven't seen it, is actually the V2 VTX marginally seemed to behave a little bit better. And it isn't surprising. And what we don't know yet is where we will see the difference, because this aligns with DJI. We did know with DJI that overall the Vista had the same general performance as the main ear unit. And you have to understand that the way these ear units work, let me just pause that because that's running in the corner of my eyes, it's not diversity in the sense of what you would basically think of it. It is complex RF behavior. And look, I've said this in my video of the VTX. Every decent test in Wi-Fi and WiMAX shows that multi-in, multi-out will outperforms single in, single out, period, without question. But we have here a bit of a mixture of both. We have the air unit on one antenna and the ground station on 4. And what we sort of have to take into account is the area it's going to lose is on its ability to receive more than transmit. Because remember, the aerials on the VTXs are not transmitting all the time. They're constantly switching between transmit and receive. It's a constant, real fast switching. And it's hard to say. Yeah, Telltale 100% Wes, parking garage definitely is the kind of environment it may be an issue. But overall, I don't think it's going to be a dramatic problem for most people. And it does bring some benefits for them. Less complex, less decision-making in the VTX, which antenna to use. Less... The problem is, we don't know if Walksnail or DJI, what kind of diversity they use. So you have in what is known as multi-in, multi-out, or MIMO, or whatever we want to call this, which is a multiple antenna digital system based on OFDM. You have multiple different strategies. Okay, so you have spatial diversity and spatial... what's the other one? Spatial diversity and spatial the other one. I'm going to call it a second. It'll come to me in a second. Now, spatial diversity is interesting. It basically chooses or mixes the antennas. But you've got this other mode that splits the packets. So the easiest way to think about this is you have the choice of, you either send the same data across both antennas and receive the same data on both antennas, and on the receive choose which one to use, or add them together and mix them to get the sum output. So you either do that, or you do a process which is you split the data across the antennas. So for instance, say you had 10 packets of data. Packet 1 on antenna 1, packet 2 on antenna 2, packet 1 on antenna, packet 3 on antenna 1, packet 4 on antenna 2. So what you're then doing is splitting the data across the two antennas, hoping that that has an improvement. And there are two different ways of doing it. And that's what we don't know. Spatial diversity and spatial multiplexing. It's just come into my head. There we go. So spatial multiplexing is the process of splitting the data across two antennas, or two chains is the official term. So you're splitting the data across the two. Spatial diversity is transmitting the same data across both antennas. And what you then do with spatial diversity is actually you don't transmit the data at exactly the same time. You actually transmit it with a slight delay on one, and you can then do all of the magical beamforming. It is an insanely complex thing to go into. However, we don't know what DJI or Avatar does. It does both. Yeah, and they can do both. I'm not saying they even do one. Yeah, there's more to it. There is so much to this. You can do the beamforming. You can take into account areas of loss. There's so much you can do. But what we don't know is how far DJI or how far Walksnail are going with this. If they're not really diving into this too deep, then they're not going to be getting the mass benefit from the multiple antennas, and that's why they can drop them down. There's so much involved. It's a complex subject. And look, they will do both at different times. You could even find that it will do spatial diversity in one moment, and then when the signal gets to another, it'll go to, you've got a temporal diversity, or you've got spatial multiplexing. Depending on the MCS rates, it can change at any time. The system is not fixed. It moves all this stuff around. But what was nice to see, and look, JB's got the video on it, it backed up my initial findings, and I did do some very basic tests when I got the VTX. I have some places I can fly it to, and I know exactly how it performs. And it was virtually identical to the two antenna VTX. So that was a benefit. I think Where we would see benefits, and actually this is something probably none of us have ever done, is moved one of the antennas up front or underneath. We would be much better in FPV instead of doing what we all do, is place 2 antennas like this at the back, or one up and one down. We would be better having one of them down here somewhere underneath, completely in a different position. Black Mosses, does the original unit use both antennas for video? Yes, both transmit and receive. So the original unit has full capabilities on both antennas, and there is a difference here between DJI and Avatar, for instance. So take the DJI goggles. The Avatar Air unit was the same, could use both for both. However, the Avatar goggles only have one transmitting antenna. They only have one power amplifier on one antenna, which is the top right when you look at them from the back. Ram Donko. MIMO has a lot of options on a good... Oh, yeah, huge amount. It's crazy. Crazy amount of options in that system. It really is. So, in the end, though, I think for 99% of people, the moving to a single antenna will not be a problem. I really don't. And if you're interested, JB's video has a good overview of the performance difference. I was going to do it myself. I may still do it, but I'm probably not going to do it today. I might leave it a bit of time, and I might wrap it up into a bigger video as well. I wanted to make this video. It was already in my head to make it, but that's what happens when you have other creators in the same space. You know, you're always going to have an overlap at some point. So what I got to think about is what my original was going to be. I'm going to do something a bit different now. So that. But look, with regards to the Avatar HD launch, I think there's nothing bad here. I really like the polar camera. I think I really like the polar camera. I think that'll be my go-to now. Look, it's really hard to say Walksnail are not doing good stuff. The system isn't perfect by any means, but it's come on a huge amount. Huge amount. Another big 40-minute video sounds good. Yeah, they're too long. It's probably going to be... Can I transfer the models radio settings for my TX16S with Edge TX over to my new Boxer without going through the TX Companion? You should be able to do it via the SD card, but I am not an expert on Edge TX. I'll be honest. I hate setting up a new radio. Have you ever heard of using... I have heard of it, AVFix. I've never done it, as you say, using a left or a right. There's a good argument to say you should use a left and a right. And actually, the DJI system would probably benefit from it because it has the option of using both. Could O3 ever get audio? Is there a mic? We don't know. I don't believe there's a mic. I've not seen one inside. I can't ever say ever bad for life because we don't know for sure. As far as I'm aware, there's no mic. You should. Yeah, I just want to... Steve Jobs, thank you for me. I do want to do it. I just want to now slightly do it differently. I'll be honest. JB ended up making the video that I would have made, but he did a better job of it. Hands down, did a better job of it. I watched it and just thought, yeah, that's what I was aiming for. But so I now need to do something different, which we will do. We will do. So they should add a mic to the FC. Definitely should. So that's the Walksnail stuff. Overall, look, I have to say there's nothing bad here. There's just nothing bad here. Really impressed with the cameras. I like the new VTX. The only thing, and I didn't say this in the video actually, the only thing I will say is this. That's not the right one. You're going to need to be careful with this VTX, right? Let me just turn something on this camera to get closer. Oh, I am. I'm as close as I can get. Okay, you're going to need to be really careful around where these wires go on. Is my scope on? Let me just check. Does the scope work? That's a no. That's not working. 1 second. Try it again. Oh, God. Microscope's not working. Right, you're going to black screen for a second, folks. Oh, I can see why. There we go. 1 second. I'm having to move the mic as well. Right. Let me just focus. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so, and you can already see it on that wire there. Okay? You're going to need to be really careful of this positive wire touching the chassis. And it has already started on mine. The sheath on the wire has started to creep back. And as a result of that, the wire has the potential to touch the grounded chassis. Now, what they've not done is left a lot of space, like below the connector. They should have cut this down a bit more, in my opinion. But you're going to need to be really careful on this, okay? You can see there on mine, look, it's moving back. So over time, this could shift further back and boom, you have a short. Now, what I did is when I first set this up was push this forward. Now, my advice on this, let me just get it back there, is going to be to use heat shrink tubing to ensure that it's not going to creep back, because the heat shrink should stay. But you're going to need to be careful, because this height is the same height as the PCB. That's the easiest way to explain it. There's no height difference between the pads and the edge of the VTX. So you're going to need to be careful. Just cut it shorter. Yeah, that was very short when I did it. Well, that wire has crept back. That's the thing. Now, this is my bench testing one. Yeah, but remember, it's as long as it stays there, it's fine. Mine was like that. Mine was, I had the sheath right up and it's just crept back. There shouldn't be any strands of earth touching. 1 second. You know, this is my bench testing one, this one. I had a very small piece on that. But again, this one has been moved around a bit on the bench. Well, to say at least a bit is an understatement. It's been in and out about 20 frames. So, but it is something you just want to be careful of. I would have liked to have seen like a bit of a cutout. Josh Fisk, M10 GPS makes Avatar V1 noise non-issue. Not in my tests. And I test that in tomorrow's video. Funny enough, that leads me nicely onto this. I was sent this week from Flywoo. Sent a couple of things from Flywoo this week, and there is some videos coming on them. But they sent me one of their M10s. This is the Flywoo V3 M10, which is the Goku GM 10 Mini, which is the 150 chipset. But this still picked up interference off the original VTX in my testing. But this is a nice GPS module. Damn fast. Really quick to lock. Very good indeed. Very good indeed. But yeah, there is a video coming on that. I like that you're seeing a lot of M10 modules hit the market now. And Flywheel have got a range of 3, and that's a nice one as well. They also sent me these. And I do have a video coming on these as well, which is ND filters for the O3 ear unit. So there are finally ND options available. Now, in this set, you do get ND4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and a circular polarizer as well. So I got a video coming on these. The only thing I will say with ND filters on O3, you will get vignetting in super wide, and it is not specifically related to these filters. If you're using super wide, you are going to get some vignetting. There is just not enough space in front of that camera in super wide mode to put any filter on without it having an effect. They are $60, $59, I think they are something. The GPS is cheap as chips. This GPS is like $18, $19. It's a really cheap GPS, and it's like 15, 16 pounds in the UK. So frankly, a freaking bargain, an absolute bargain. Do the filters from the Avata fit O3? Not as far as I'm aware. These filters are specific for O3. I haven't checked. Do you know what? They bloody might. They might be the same. I'm going to try fitting one. I didn't think they would, but let me just look. What about the GPS with anti-jamming? I haven't tried the Walksnail GPS with anti-jamming. If you don't know what that is, they have also released this thing. So alongside the release of the Avatar system, they have released a GPS module, which is an M10 as well, which is this one here. Now, I haven't got this. They haven't sent it to me, so I can't test it. It looks almost identical to the Flywheel one. I'll be honest, and I don't know this for sure, and my accusations could be fairly baseless. However, I think there's just a batch of these new type of M10 GPSs hitting the market, and they're all basically putting their labels on them. But yeah, it's the same chipset, exactly the same chipset, M10 series. It's the M150. But what they're saying is it's got GPS. What are they saying? Anti-jamming. But what I will say is on my tests of the V1 Walksnail, it was no different with the M10. It was still getting wiped out. It was doing a better job, but it was still getting wiped out. So let's just see. Let's just see. Does this fit? I don't know. Let's have a look. Who knew there was a little notch, right, in the front of the camera for the filter to clip into? I didn't. Okay, so by definition, as the O3 filters fit the Avata filters should fit O3. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I hadn't actually checked that. But just remember, you will get vignetting in super wide. And it ain't the filter. There's not enough space. There is not enough space to have that filter on the front in super wide without there being some vignetting. It's mild, but there is some there. What I will say, though, is the filters are good. There's no great color shift. There's no signs of greens or blues. Overall, I think they're pretty good. Yeah, so those filters, there's actually a video for them coming out, although I'm just thinking I wish I'd have mentioned the Avata on it now. I didn't actually think of that. Are you going to talk about HDZero? Yes, there's a little bit to talk about on HDZero. We will cover that in a minute. Now, yeah, so there'll be the M10 GPS. I'll have a video on that. Whitecliff Bassett. Some of my mates with HDZero claim the cameras chat to the left. I've seen this in Walksnail as well. There is absolutely something in that, and I get it on Walksnail too. There is definitely something in some FPV cameras that are not straight. There was definitely talk on the HDZero system of that, and I've seen it on Avatar HD too. I actually get it on Avatar HD. If you look at... Let me just find something. V1... Let me just... Polar field, no. Is it this one? There you go. This is my Avatar HD build. Let me just turn myself off a minute. Now look at this. More motor on the left than there is on the right. So I do see it on all of them. Lee, it's going to be... We're not going to be able to diagnose your issue on a live stream. I would strongly suggest going over to the fpv.wtf Discord. There are amazing people over there. They will help you. Butter definitely works. If it's not working, then you do have an issue. Go on to the FPV.WTF Discord. I'm on there. There are many people on there. People will help you. Go on to the help and support area. We will walk you through it. Probably a USB issue. Probably a driver issue. Butter works on all firmware versions. There is no restriction. So it is something related to your setup or something you're doing. They will walk you through it. Camera is not straight. Yeah, well, that is in the frame. See, I've seen this on a few others, and we're seeing this on more than one system as well. Interesting. Let me just look at the new Polar. I didn't actually notice on the new Polar, because that's in a frame. Polar. How's it on the Polar? There's no props in view at all, so I can't tell. To upgrade Goggles 2 through computer, you can do it via Assistant for consumer drones, or you can do it via the Fly app. There has definitely been talk of this camera thing for a while on HDZero, but I've also seen it on Avatar as well. There's something in it. So the question is how you level that up. Do you level it up in the frame? Do you level it elsewhere? Okay, so the last subject we're going to talk about is HDZero. And there's not... I'm not going to talk too much, because I did start with this as well, and I have covered it. So, okay, the new beta firmware is out for the Goggles 2. That brings the 1080p support. It brings a few other fixes, but it also has a big Linux software update in it. And what you're going to find with the next firmware is there's going to be a bit of a process to follow for actually updating the firmware compared to normally, because they're doing a full OS update and not just a sort of an improvement. Now, it's going to be bringing the 1080p 30 mode, which I'm really interested in trying. Okay, it's not perfect. I do have some disappointments in that mode. The biggest being you've got to change the lens on the camera. It's great that it works with existing cameras. It's just annoying. I've got to change the lens. I get it. It's just annoying. I'm not going to say it's anyone's particular fault, but it's annoying. There's also a whole host of bug fixes in it as well. Now, as I've said, I have been testing that new Nano 90, which I think is a nice camera. I do like it. I think it's interesting. when you look at the footage on it, it isn't dramatically worse than the original footage, as I've already said. Interestingly, let me just grab my goggles because there's some footage on an SD card. Which I haven't even looked at yet. But I did a couple of flights. All right, how many? Okay, that's weird. Let's open that in VLC. Just trying to find which file is which. Oh, that was me messing because I had to change the camera settings first to make sure I was in the right mode. So. Okay, so this is 960H. This is at the moment. So this is the I haven't flown this aircraft for ages. So this is the full normal mode on the Nano 90. And all I was doing, first flight, just a bit of a scoot around just to have a look and just to get a feel for how it feels overall. I hadn't flown this aircraft for a while either. But this just gives you an idea of what the 90 footage looks like and the detail on it. Obviously recorded by the goggles. But yeah, overall pretty good. I think if I just go towards the end, I was doing a lot more low stuff towards the end. I was looking for a gap in the trees, but it's a bit hard this time of year to see them. I think I start looking at going down and keeping it close to the deck. But yeah, just having a play, having a look at just seeing how the camera looks and feels, because this is really the first time I've had a bit of a dry day with it. All of the weather I've had up until now has been terrible. It's just raining usually. I just wanted to sort of see what the detail was like around the goalposts and things like that. So that's the normal mode on the Nano 90. It looks decent. But again, that was just that. Now, let me just find where I would expect this one to be. Yes, this must be. This will now be the. This is the 540p 90. Now, if I just bring up the specs on this, what does this record in? Media codec. There you go. Frame rate, 90 frames a second. So this is in 90 frames a second now. Now, obviously, you're not seeing it in 90, but it's 90 frames a second. But what I will say is there isn't a dramatic loss in video quality. There really, really isn't. Everything is a bit more blurred in the middle. And look, the light level was going down. This isn't, you can see the sun up there. It's not the brightest of day here, even when it's as bright as this. Yeah, same thing happens if you try full 16:9 minus 720p. But you can definitely see it's blurrier. What I was really trying to do was just see how it looked, where I would have the issues, where I could see the difference in detail more than anything. And you can definitely see that there is less detail in it. Yeah, 03 is without doubt better from an image quality point of view. But there's still tons of detail there. What is really interesting, it's like when you really get up and close to stuff, there is detail. It's not that there isn't. It is definitely there. It's the grass and stuff like that is what I was looking at, what I was trying to... Yeah, there is vignetting on that. There's definitely some vignetting. Remember, these cameras are not designed for aerial photography. This camera is designed for racing. That's what this camera is. That's what the camera is designed for, you know. First time I've flown this all year. You could, in 03, you could see a ladybug on the grass. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I couldn't fly for long. Unfortunately, some kids came out to play football. Luck. Sods. But again, I was impressed with it. Overall, it wasn't shocking. It was pretty good. You know, no, 3.5 inch. It was bloody windy as well. I do love the orange props on this. It's a lovely little quad. Just need more practice. See, I wanted to see how it looked, you know. How does it look? You know, you can see everything you need to see. You know, this isn't an AP camera. Let's not pretend that. But is that the stock lens? It is the stock lens. Yeah. That's the stock lens on the lens I came with on the Nano 90. I think it looks pretty good. Genuinely, it looks very, very good. Like, you got to take out, this is not an aerial photography thing. What this is a digital racing system. And remember, this camera in that mode is delivering 14 milliseconds of latency. 14 milliseconds of latency. In many, many situations, that is less than analog. It is light years ahead of analog. Trust me. If I put analog up there now, I have the T-Rex, which is one of the best looking cameras you have in analog. And it can't touch this. Genuinely, it can't touch this. It, you know, this is definitely a replacement for analog in racing. You know, you've got 14 milliseconds of latency here, end to end. So it's good. It's real good. And what you got to take into, and the bit I'm trying to understand is, you know, where is the downside to this camera from 720p to 540? And actually, I don't think there is. I don't think it is. None of the digital systems won me over it. There's a lot of work still to be done. I think, yeah, would you? HDZero fastest beaver. Yeah, look, there's nothing that can come close to this. From a latency point of view, it's without doubt. And when you do look at the guys, around the gates and the guys flying this is a big step ahead. What you've also got to take into account, and look, it's easy for an FPV freestyle community to look at HDZero and think, oh, it's not very good. You got to look at how those boys fly in analog in racing situations and what they're now getting. That's where the big difference is. When you look at analog in racing, there was flashing all over the place. I'm not saying HDZero is perfect, but it is a step ahead. Now, the question is going to be, can the 1080p 30 mode bring that image quality difference people have asked for the long range? I think HDZero doesn't win in the average freestyle. I think the average freestyle user is probably happier in DJI Avatar. Just because of the latency is good enough. Just because of the image quality is much better overall. 03 especially. But, and the big but is, remember, this system with this camera is potentially half the latency than 03 is, even on its fastest setting. So that is something to take into account. 03 is struggling to get below 30 milliseconds, even in low latency mode. That's the thing to take into account. But again, different markets. I'm really looking forward to the 1080p 30. Obviously, because we're using the bigger sensor, you have got to change the lens on that. We'll have the new firmware soon. I think Carl's been very quiet, beavering away. I do know there's a lot of people looking forward to their goggles. There is a V2 goggle coming, but I do want to quickly explain this. So for those who've ordered their goggles and are waiting, I have the V1s here. There is going to be a V2. If you're a V1 user, don't get upset. It's not that there's loads of new features. Carl has had to make some component changes as a result of the global ongoing supply shortage of bits, but it's nothing that will generally affect everyday performance. But there are some slight differences in the components, and that's been the same time and time again. And that's what happens when they're making stuff in the volumes they're making them. But hopefully the goggles will be getting out to people soon. I think they're great. I think they're fantastic. I wish I could receive DJI on them. I think they should be shipping soon. They should be shipping soon. But yeah, look, I understand there's always a lot of frustration. Yeah, look, it's preference. If you prefer image quality, you're going to want to fly DJI. If you prefer latency or smoothness, then you're possibly going to want HDZero. Look, it's all personal preference at this point. When do I think 3138X? I have no idea. Look, I can't comment on shipping. What I know is this. Carl is going to want to get them out as soon as he can. Carl is a man that always wants to deliver, and he will get them out as soon as he can. Is DJI discontinuing the DJI V2 goggles for good? Okay, Cole. So, we don't know. There has been no official confirmation on the status of the goggles V2, the Air unit, or the Vista. What we know behind the scenes is we're being told that once stock is gone, it's gone. But other than that, we don't know. What I do think is this new goggle will be the nail in the coffin of the V2 officially. I don't even know if they are making V2s right now. It could just be ongoing supply. We just don't know. I would say it is fair to say they will end soon. It is inevitable. And what I would say is this, and this was actually mentioned on JB's Discord. If you're looking to get into FPV today, so if you're thinking, well, what do I buy? DJI, Avatar, or HDZero? Okay, if you're into racing, it's HDZero. If you want image quality and you don't mind variable latency, then it's DJI or Avatar. But what I will say is this. If you want the best image quality, then it's DJI O3 with either the V2 or the goggles 2. Whichever one you get, it's great. Don't worry about it. However, if you're thinking of buying the V2 goggles to buy Air units and Vistas, I don't recommend you do that today. My personal recommendation would be buy the Avatar system. The Air unit and Vista and V2s are dead. It is a dead-end product with no future. It's that simple. You can still get stuff today. Mr. Andy RC, how are you, my friend? Hope you're well. Long time no see. I saw your picture on Facebook the other day. You must have ordered some stuff. But yeah, look, I would say this. If you're thinking of getting DJI to get Air units and Vistas, don't. If you're thinking of getting DJI to get O3, absolutely. That's the way. And you can get the goggles 2 or the V2s. But I would not recommend getting the DJI system for the Air unit and Vistas if you've not bought into this already. You may as well at this point buy into Avatar. There is no reason not to. If you're buying into DJI, you want to be buying into it for O3. If you've already got it, then don't worry. But my point is, if you're someone who's thinking, well, do I go with Air units and Vistas? And look, there's nothing wrong with buying a set of V2s today. Get Air units and Vistas, buy 5 of each, and you'll be fine. But I would say don't buy that system with a thought of longevity. Avatar is the safer bet. 100% on that. Oh, I've just filled up my second drive, so my recording is finished on the stream. There you go. Hope you're well, Andy. Vista is so outdated. It's just, well, we don't believe it's in production anymore. The info I have is the Vista and the unit are no longer in production. But look, you've got to take into account all of the best cameras for the DJI system came from Cadex or DJI. Cadex are no longer making them, and DJI are no longer making them. We've had cameras from RunCam, but I'll be honest, none of them I've seen have been as good as a Nebula Pro or the original DJI camera. I haven't tried the latest one, but I still don't believe it's as good. I believe it's still got issues. So today, AirUnit and Vista is hit the end of the line. When all of the Cadex cameras are gone, they're gone. They're no longer making cameras for DJI. That's over. You're then going to be simply down to whatever scraps you can find around. Like the Wasp. Yeah, the Wasp, I don't believe it was any good. I think it still had... You can get the DJI V2 goggles with the DJI FPV combo. Yeah, they're still shipping them in combos. I bet you they've stopped production. You've got to take into account the way DJI makes things is on like large production runs and then they stop. Yeah, if you've got them today, then it's not a problem. What I say, though, is it's hard to recommend someone invests in the V2 system. So I mean the V2 goggles, AirUnits and Vistas today. You are better putting that money either into O3 or Avatar. And if you don't want O3, then it's Avatar. If you want to fly at night, it's Avatar. If you want low light camera, it's Avatar. Look, just look at what we've got with Avatar today. So we've got three VTXs, V1, V2, and the Whoop VTX, the 1S. You've got the V2 camera and the Polar camera, the Whoop camera. They are delivering what people have asked for. DJI had a lot of stuff, but they don't anymore. The V2 system, any Nebula Pros you're getting are only going to be what's left in stock. Any of the Polar cameras for it are only what's going to be left in stock, and you're then only left with RunCam. I haven't seen anything on the RunCam that I think was as good as what Cadex were doing, but I could be wrong. I've not tried the new one. They didn't send me one, and I've not really felt the need to go out and buy one. I just don't. I'll be honest, at this stage, I would either convert all my aircraft to O3 or I'll convert them to Avatar. But I'm lucky I'm in the position to do that. So it should work. Yeah, it'll work with the Vista. It's great to see you around, Andy. I do hope you're well, mate. I'll send you a message tomorrow. We could do with a catch-up. It's been a while. I'll send you some more abuse as always. But, yeah, so, you know, that's my stance on where you're at with it. It's just hard to recommend the DJI system when it's really not going to have development. Now, I do know RunCam do have that camera. Is it the Wasp? I think it was the Wasp. Wasp, or was it the Phoenix HD, or was it the Wasp? The Phoenix HD. So RunCam have... Let's have a look. So you got the Falcon, the Link Wasp. There we go. So this one is the 120 frames a second 4x3. Looks good, but didn't it have some straight... Didn't it have... Wasn't it got like really bad AGC, automatic gain. I could be wrong, but I thought I saw it and it didn't look great. I thought I saw it and it didn't look great. I can't remember, though. I could be wrong on this. Well, JB's discussed it. Albert Kim. Let's have a look. Did he fly it? The Wasp is newer, yeah. I have to wait for the advert. Ah, okay. I might be thinking of a different camera. Here we go. Okay. So he's testing it there. I thought I saw something in his footage I didn't like. And I can't remember what it is now. It looks okay there. It looks a bit sharp. It's definitely sharper than the Nebula Pro. Bad low at low proximity. Is that what it was? There was something I saw which I thought it's not as good. Overall, though, it's not terrible. Okay, well, look, as long as you can still get it, so be it. I remember watching this video and I just thought there was something I thought... Oh, it definitely wasn't as good as Night, was it? That was right. Yeah, it was terrible at night in comparison. I remember that now. That is a stark difference. Green tinge. Oh, and it's only 4x3, is it? Right, okay. Yeah, that is shocking. There we go. So it's not as good as the Nebula Pro, but it's an option. There we go. I knew there was something about it I thought wasn't as good. Yeah, you go. Only has 4x3. There we go. I thought there was things I'd missed on it. I thought it's not as good. Only 4x3, no light change, and 120 locked. There we go. I knew it. I couldn't remember what it was, but I knew it. What's the best cam for the Vista at the moment? Nebula Pro, if you can get it. Period. The Nebula Pro has by far been the best camera overall. If you can get one. But I don't even think Cadex have even got them anymore. I don't even know if they do. No. Nope. They're gone. So unless you can find a Nebula Pro, it's over. Any in stock anywhere? Let's just have a look. Okay, so there are some kits in stock in the UK. It's interesting. It is showing the Nebula Pro Vista kit as this. You may be able to get some kits, but you're not going to get many. You're going to struggle now. You really are. That's not horrible for low light if it's 120 locked. The original camera, Nebula Pro and the original camera are basically the same. Thank you, Sean, for the super chat. I appreciate the £5. Thank you, mate. Right, everyone. That is it for this week's live stream. I want to thank you all for spending some time with me. Now, before you go, please do give the stream a like before I leave. There are a couple of videos coming today. No, there's not. There's a couple of videos coming this week. Tomorrow will be the Avatar GPS video. That'll cover that subject off nicely, and then there's a couple of other ones in the week, including the ND filters and stuff like that. And then it's time to get onto this HDZero stuff because we're heading into that period now. So, yeah, it's as simple as that. Anyways, that's it from me on this one. I want to thank you all for spending some time. I wish you all the very best of the week. We should be back, same time, same place next week. So stay safe, and I will speak to you soon.